Hello everybody, welcome back to AGB Cars. Aaron here again. Today we are going to continue on the season previews for the 2015 Formula 1 World Championship. Today we are going to focus on the Red Bull Racing team. So, starting off 2014, Red Bull finished second in the championship to Mercedes. Ricciardo also got third in the drivers. But for the majority of the season, they were the third quickest car after Mercedes, of course, and the Williams on occasion. And it was really Red Bull and Williams were the only teams who could actually challenge Mercedes. Of course, Red Bull were the only other team besides Mercedes to win a Grand Prix last year. 3 in fact, thanks to Ricciardo. And I suppose Williams would have been more favoured and probably is as well for next year to win more races than Red Bull. But I think it was the fact last year Williams were in effect inexperienced in race winning and fighting again at the front of the grid. As for the past few seasons, obviously they were languishing back in the lower half of the grid. So I suppose in 2015 now, I probably would expect for them to be slightly behind Williams, mainly because really the Mercedes engine in the Williams is so good. Renault they probably will still have a disadvantage compared to the Mercedes engine cars next year. But as well, the Red Bull team itself is supremely strong, as they proved over the last 5 years with Sebastian Vettel claiming 4 consecutive drivers and constructors world championships. And so they have more experience than Williams do at the moment in terms of race winning and challenging hard for the title and strategy and all things like that. But I'd say next year they will be slightly behind Williams because of the experience that they gained, the experience that Williams gained during their 2014 campaign. Although this year, of course, they lost one of the chief aerodynamicists to McLaren. If you remember, I think it was before the American Grand Prix in Austin, when one of their chief aerodynamicists left and went to McLaren, and then McLaren turned up at the American Grand Prix with practically the same front wing as Red Bull, so that would certainly be an advantage for McLaren and a disadvantage for the Red Bull team. And speaking on this subject as well, of course, Adrian Newey, who was sort of the mastermind behind all the design aspects of these cars that they won with in the past few years, is stepping back from his role. He's still having input into next year's car, but then after that he's stepping back, so that's a future, I wouldn't say loss for Red Bull, but certainly it would be a concern that they would have, I'd say. Drivers wise, this year obviously retaining Ricciardo, and he's sort of stepping up to lead the team. Losing Sebastian Vettel to Ferrari, and then Daniil Kvyat, the young Russian driver who has just stepped up from Red Bull's sister team, Toro Rosso. And there's a lot of questions then about him. Like, he isn't experienced as such. He only has 1 year in F1 with Scuderia Toro Rosso, and I suppose this year will be a real test for him. He'll certainly want to, show what he's got, and it'll be very tough against Ricciardo, because of course Ricciardo proved last year that he was supremely quick. He's a great team player, so I certainly think they're very, very well in place with Ricciardo. I'd say I can see Ricciardo being a future world champion in the right car, and that's really Red Bull are certainly lucky to have Ricardo, and he will be a very very strong team leader at Red Bull, and then Kvyat as well will Kvyat, who will join Ricardo. I suppose he won't be expected to win races next year, um, in 2015. Like, if of course if the car isn't great, but I certainly wouldn't expect him to be faster than Ricardo. A lot of the time, anyway. Um, so that's Red Bull sort of covered there. I should also mention that they have also retained Sebastian Buemi as their reserve and test driver. Of course, Buemi won the World Endurance Championship this year, and is also racing in Formula E. So a lot that's going on in his mind, but is still the test driver for Red Bull. So that's it for Red Bull. I will see you in the next episode. Thanks for listening.